Okay, guys, what you just heard was the tube amp. I did try to get some of the sizzle out of it. I went back and looked at the stream from Thursday night, and I know what my meters were saying here. I only had one meter, and it was just barely clipping. So I think a lot of what you all were hearing, and even when I could hear on my headphones, I had two bad channels, 15 and 16 on my Mackie. So I have switched channels, and I was still getting a little bit of funny stuff going on. So I did make some changes. I changed my presence setting, I changed the EQ just a little bit, and I changed the settings in the BBE. Now, what you're hearing is a mix between the two SE microphones and the DI, it's like a cab simulator box. The cab simulator box, instead of going out of the, I guess, main outs, I'm coming out of the headphone jack on the front of the SGX 2000 to that. I did look at it, so all the effects loops and everything are intact from the headphone. It's just bypassing the power amp and the four speaker enclosure. So you're getting a mix on those two, and I guess I could plug in a different guitar that isn't set up to drop tuning. So let me unplug this guitar, and we're going to once again show the Firefly that I've been working on, and I do believe that we have resolved all the issues on this guitar. So we're going to plug it in and go through the tube amp. Hopefully it's an improvement. I gotta open up the mic. We've also made some other changes, guys, and hopefully before the stream's over you will hear one of those changes. Now, I kind of threw a dart as far as the level on the changes, so we're going to see how it works tonight, and I'll mark the settings and it'll get better each week. We are using an SM57 for this slight change, and I see I am overgaining just a little bit, so I'm going to turn back the one microphone. I don't know if you guys like the tone of the amp, but that is my tube amp, and I'm trying to get to transfer what I hear in the room to the Mackie. This seems to lack a little mid. Uh, so what I'm hearing, I messed up again. What I'm hearing is a little lack of mid. And I'm also going to favor my middle finger tonight. I'm not really sure why. I woke up this morning and right under the tip of my fingernail is unbelievably sore. And I did not injure it at work, so, well, I must have, but I don't remember doing that. So earlier when I picked up the guitar, I was like, what in the world's going on with my fingers? That right there is the main difference that I hear in a tube amp that the new modelers I do feel connected to it, but when a lower note resonates and you have, now I don't have the room volume that I had last weekend. That's one thing. I have been able to get the room volume way down, so I can still kind of talk to you guys, okay? And I'm not overgaining these two, but it's still a sound in the room. But when you hit that low E, the resignation that you get from a tube amp and some microphones is just a little different than a modeler. The tremolo acts a little better with a tube amp. You don't lose the Now, of course, this tremolo has been heavily modified, so if you were listening to the other stream, the guitar instantly has more sustain now than it had. We've added a tremendous amount of mass to this bridge with the stainless steel saddles. hit the wrong string, but you get the point. A little sloppy on that pull, but you get the point. The tremolo is working the way the Lord intended it to work. So I'm going to give this one the stamp of approval. We have finally fixed one of Firefly's worst guitars. This guitar does not have the problem that Mikey brought up in the last stream. When you buy budget guitars, there are certain things that you need to look for. I get it. We buy budget guitars because we like modifying guitars. It's a $200 instrument. We can't expect a $200 instrument to have a great tremolo on it, to have great pickups in it, to have great electronics in it, to have great tuners in it. It's a $200 to $300 guitar. But what we do have to have, we have to have a well-made body and we have to have a well-made neck, okay? If the body isn't routed properly and bored properly for a Floyd Rose tremolo, and they've made this bore, okay, and that hole for the route, and they haven't allowed enough meat behind it, you're going to have problems. If you take a guitar neck that is designed for a nut, okay, just a standard bone nut, that's designed to actually work with either a 6-screw tremolo or a tremolo without a locking nut, okay, and then you also put a straight without rear, no pitch angle whatsoever, and you cut this neck out to put a locking nut, you're going to have problems with the E string and the A string, bare minimum. Well, you're going to have problems with all the strings without a string tree. Now what they did is, you can see there's two little screws, right, where are they at? Here and here. And that's for the standard string tree if you have a bone nut. So this neck was actually designed for the bone nut, two temporary string trees, and then he stuck a Floyd Rose on it and then routed the thing out. Coming out of the base of the nut, the string angle was completely wrong to the tuner. And what I've had to do is I've actually had to tilt just a little bit. If you look at the string tree, it's kind of tilted. And I've put this part in the center between here and here, and I've kicked the bottom out to kind of relieve the high E. It's as good as it's going to get. The neck was not designed for a locking nut. When I unlock it and I relock it, it does not change tune. So a lot of times with the Floyd, you hit your E, you tune it, and then when you hit the locker, the pitch goes up. So when we buy budget guitars, we need to pay attention to these things because we buy them to hot rod them. You know, I enjoy hot rodding guitars. Maybe Schecter or Gibson or Kramer or whoever it is makes a guitar and I don't like the pickups in it, okay, or I don't like the bridge they're using or the tuners. So why am I going to spend a $900 on an Epiphone, turn around and put pickups in it, change the tuners, and do all this fretwork? I'll buy a $350 to $250 Les Paul. I'm going to add my own pickups that I like, maybe change the electronics in it, put better tuners on it, and I'm going to make a custom instrument. But the neck and the body have to be well made.
Is there a micro adjust on the bridge?
And there's our first change. If you guys just heard that, I have added a third mic. And what did you say, hon?
Is there a micro adjust on the bridge?
Yes, this bridge was built for this guitar, and you can see how short the new bridge is. Let me turn the volume down. See how short the new bridge is compared to the old route? So the Chinesium bridge, the screw was really long on the cheap bridges. So they really routed out the back. So there's a lot of space there. So your fine tuners are right here. So this is a real Floyd, I guess you could call it. It isn't made by Floyd, so the posts and the main bridge plate are Floyd Rose. Okay? The block in the back and the spring that run the fine tuner are Floyd Rose specials. The saddle set on this is made by Canes, and I love that company. If you're looking for stainless steel saddles on a budget for a Floyd, they're great saddles. If you want that little something extra with perfect machining, get the Cash. But they're both great. Neither one have sharp shoulders. Okay? Really good. We did change the springs on this. I think these springs are Music Lily Pro springs in this guitar. We're trying to do it on a budget. But I hate to say it, when you fix a Floyd like this, you're going to have at least $150 to $160 in it. It's not a special, so it's going to way outlast a special. This bridge will last just as long as an original. And a lot of people will say, well, I'll get a standard Godot for $120. You can. The problem with that standard Godot is it has standard saddles, it has the standard block. So if you want an extra big block, like this guitar, okay, this is the special, the large steel block in the special. This is the bigger block, not the little 32 inch. So if you put a bigger block in it, stainless steel saddles, you're still going to be in the 180 to 190 range on the Godot. So it's your preference, I guess, whichever way you want to go. Do you want to go to the Floyd Rose route, or do you want to go the Godot route? It's kind of up to you. But either way, you're going to be in the 150 to 200 mark in the bridge. Then all these budget guitars, the nuts are very soft metal, so you can count on eventually replacing the nut. This particular guitar, I was not happy with the tuners as well, so we did put Cash tuners on it. These are the Cash Tulip tuners. I love these little, they're not squared off, they're kind of rounded. These tuners I think were $34, and it's normally they're $40. These are the best tuners I've found for the money. Don't think about Gunther and some of the other no-name ones. Just get the Cash ones. They're very smooth. They work well. Granted, you're not spending $80, $90 on tuners, but these are good, solid tuners at that price point. They really are. They feel smooth. The locking mechanisms work well on it. They're good tuners. I would put these tuners on any guitar that I have that doesn't have like ratios or a top end Godot. You know, time will only tell, okay? Will these tuners last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? We know the ratio and the Godot stuff and some of the old Grover stuff, it just lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts and lasts. All I can tell you is right now, they're super smooth, they don't slip, and they're a good bang for the buck. So we'll just have to check in a couple years. The drawback to that is in a couple years, will they still be making them? I don't know. But that's what's been done to this guitar. And I think we've done a good job on it. And these are the stock Firefly pickups. Firefly has made some improvements on their pickups. Originally, they were pretty bad. This was the first series of the Alnico 5 pickups they did, and they're not horrible. They're pretty good sounding. They're good for rock and roll. So
Mikey,
we've got this job done. Yeah, honey.
Mikey couldn't find any mahogany, so he got walnut.
Well, walnut's dense like mahogany, so I'd say that's a pretty good choice. You're just looking for consistency in the wood fiber and the density. So I'd say that's a good choice, Mikey. The two materials will bond well together. I recommend using Tight Bond 2 or Gorilla Glue. If you use Gorilla Glue, do not use the polyurethane glue. You want to make sure you turn it over and it says water cleanup. It'll be a very, very light brown, white colored glue. It won't look like syrup. If it comes out and it looks like maple syrup, don't use it. That's a urethane glue, and it foams up really bad, and it needs a lot of moisture to cure. So what it'll say is you put the glue on one side, and then you mist water on the other side. And the moisture is what creates the curing process. It's great glue. It's just really, really, really messy. So I would either use the standard Gorilla Glue that's water soluble or Tight Bond 2. I definitely prefer Tight Bond 2. It's more moisture resistant than the regular Tight Bond. Okay, I'm seeing if walnut is heavier. It may be, but I will say walnut is a more consistent weighted wood. I can pick up at the shop. I can pick up 5 different pieces. Let's say I've got one board foot of 4/4, okay, in the rough, and I cut them all exactly 1 foot, and they're exactly 12 by 12 by 1 inch thick. They can vary in weight tremendously. You can actually find some light mahogany. There's times I'll go to pick a board up and I'm like, oh, it's mahogany. I'll go to pick it up and I feel like I'm going to lift off to the ceiling because I'm expecting it to weigh something, but it's really, really light. At the same token, I've went and picked up a board and went, oh my gosh, this is a heavy one. So mahogany can really drastically change in density as far as its weight. We use a lot of mahogany at the shop. Most everything we use is quarter sawn, so it doesn't warp. It's good wood. I have no issues at all with mahogany. I just know that it's bad for weight. Being light, medium, heavy, you just don't know what you can get.
Mikey needs you to say what you said about his stuff again because he lost connection and he missed it. The glue and everything.
Oh, as far as the glue, Mikey, like I said, I would use Tight Bond 2, okay? Or the water-based Gorilla Glue. And you will know the difference because on the back, the urethane glue will say only apply glue to one side and mist the other side with water. You don't want that glue. It's good glue, but it expands and foams up and makes a mess.
He said he has light walnut.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a dissimilar wood, but since you can't get since you can't get mahogany, the walnut will work. I don't know what the puppy dogs are barking about. The walnut will work. You just, it's always better though to use the same type of wood. Since it's a firefly, we don't know. It could be a different species of mahogany. We don't really know if it's African mahogany or what it is. So you're kind of throwing a dart anyway. But I would use Tight Bond 2, and that is water cleanup glue. Make sure you use clamp pressure, and that's good glue, or use the water-based Gorilla Glue. And you'll know it'll have like a really light brown color to it, like a white brown color, and you'll be able to see it through the bottle. If you pick up the Gorilla Glue and it looks like maple syrup in there, you don't want that one. That's the urethane glue. Strong glue, but that's not what you want to use. Just use the water, either Type Bond 2 or the water-based Gorilla Glue. There's other good ones. Elmer's makes Pro Bond. The Elmer's Pro Bond, if you can find it, is good. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't use regular Type Bond. And I don't like Type Bond 3. Type Bond 3 is more of a waterproof glue, and it has very little tack, if that makes sense. You want something that has some tack to it when you put it on within 15-20 seconds, but it'll have like what they call tack hold, so it'll hold itself a little bit so you can get clamp pressure on it. But the big trick is you got to have some clamp pressure on it. Don't just push it in and hit it with a micro pinner and expect it to hold. The wood fibers have to be pushed together. Glue itself is not strong. I know people will argue with me on this. I do glue up every day of my life. I'm gluing boards up. If you don't have direct surface to surface clean contact, it will be a weak joint. A glue line. You've heard people, I'll say, oh, I see a glue line. I'm looking for glue lines because I know there was no clamp pressure, or there was a warp in the board, or they didn't run the planks through the joiner to get a good solid flat mating surface, and they pulled it together with clamps. I see a lot of people do it. On an 8-foot board, it might warp 1/8 of an inch, and they just go, okay, well, the clamps will pull it together. The wood needs to be stable and straight as it's sitting there. If you're forcing it with clamps, that's even more that the wood glue has to do to hold that together. The more boards you put, the more they push and pull on themselves. I get it. But if you can get your material to lay nice, whatever your contour is, and it fits nice and it stays there, whatever it is, get your mating surfaces as good as you can get it and glue it, you'll have a good bond. So hopefully that helps, man.
Mikey's looking at router bits, 2 bearing straight cut.
Well, you have 2 different versions. In your case, you want the bearing on the top end of the bit. So if this is the router bit and this is the bottom of the bit, you want the bearing up here and then the shaft up to the router. And the reason for that is you're going to put a template on top of the guitar that bearing can follow. If the bearing is down in, it'll be what's called a flush cut bearing. Now you can get a bearing that'll allow the bit to mill in X, but the surface area inside your guitar isn't smooth. Yeah, it's all textured. So if your bottom bearing is even a 1/16 of an inch smaller than the bit, it's just going to follow all that texture down in the guitar, and you don't want that. So if the bearing is on the top, you put your template on top of the guitar. Make sure that it's what's called a flush cut. The bearing is even with the cutter. The reason for that is you can set your little square, your angle piece, clamp that to the guitar, and get it exactly where you want. When you put the router on it, all you have to do is follow that template and clean it up. I don't know what router you have. The template takes up space. So you're going to need at least a 1/2 inch thick template. So with a 1/2 inch template, then you also have to have enough distance to go all the way down to clear. So you're going to need a pretty, at least a 1 inch, maybe 1.25 inches tall end mill 2 flute with a bearing on the top. And a bit that size, I know guys that would spin that up in a 1/4 inch chuck. I wouldn't. I do have a 1/4 inch router for laminate trimming and simple stuff, and you're not milling that much off. I guess you could use a small 1/4 inch collet router on that, because you're really not. You're only trying to remove the paint and the stuff down in there to do your glue. So I think you could get away with a 1/4 now that I think about it. The big thing is safety. Make sure, don't try to freehand that. The point in it is to get a nice flat, even surface. So you can type on YouTube template routing, and you'll see that they'll make a template and they'll have a guide bearing, and that's the principle that you want to use in that. The bigger the template and the more, don't ever try to run that router by hand and think you're going to get it to go straight, because the bit's turning, it's always going to flutter. You need something for that thing to ride against. And do it slow. Just come across your material slow, and even though you just went across it slow, go all the way back around your template and then hit it again. Okay? Make sure you give it 2 good passes, because believe it or not, that bit will deflect, especially if you're using like a little tiny inexpensive palm router. There's run out in that. So it won't be perpendicular to the template the first pass. The second pass should clean it up and make it a lot better.
He has a trim router and a big Makita 1/2 inch.
It's whatever. If you feel comfortable with the 1/2 inch, use the 1/2 inch one. It's much more accurate and less deflection. But like I said, you're not milling that much off of it, so the 1/4 inch would work. The drawback to the 1/4 inch routers is they're small. Okay, the smaller the router, if your template's on this side of the router, you only have about 1 1/4 inches of that router sitting on the template, so it becomes unstable. The bigger the router, the bigger the template. Remember, only half of that router at times is on the template. The rest is just sticking out in air. So the more base you have, the more you can get it to lay flat on your template and do your repair. That's why the 1/2 inch is going to have a larger base, and it's going to be easier to get it down on the guitar. And when you make your template, allow for that. If your router has an 8-inch base, make your template 5 inches wide. Because remember, only half of that base is going to be on the template. The other half is out floating in midair. So the more base you have, the more stable it's going to be, because you've got a flatter surface that you can keep that router tight to the template, if that makes sense, when you're doing your repair. The only time I use little laminate trim routers, is doing just that. You're doing a Formica countertop. It's nice to trim the top. It's nice to maybe do small keyholes, or maybe an 1/8 inch round over on your material. It's great for that stuff. The drawback is, if you look at mine at the shop, I've put a big plastic plexiglass base on it, because from the factory, they're only this big. So by the time half of it is sticking out, you only end up with about 1 inch, 1.25 inches of that round base making contact to what you're working with. And it's very easy to get that router out of plane to the surface material that you're working with. So what I did, I forget the guy, he's on YouTube. He makes this little plastic base with 2 handles, and you just tell him what router you have. I have an M18 Milwaukee. It's battery powered, and I told him I had that one, and he drilled the base to fit my router. And it's got 2 little plastic handles on it, and it turns that little mini router into a bigger router. But it's still, even with a 1/4 inch shank, I wouldn't be hogging off a lot of material. It is not designed for that. So I would use a 1/2 inch router. So I don't know, back at the beginning of the stream, I am a smoker, guys, so I am going to smoke. And I want to say that we got OG McBaggins. Okay, I don't know if I've seen him in the stream before, so I wanna welcome him to the stream. If you've been a subscriber and this is the first time you've actually come in and chatted with us, thank you so much for coming in and hanging out on a Saturday night. We're all musicians here, and this is just a place for us to. It's like going to the music store. We all talk guitars, whether it's fixing them like we were just talking about on Mikey, or the disaster that we had in our last live stream, trying to figure out how to mic an amplifier. uh, you know, you think it's simple, but it wasn't simple. We had all kinds of little complications. So that's what the channel's about. Simple things, simple solutions, trying to make budget guitars or expensive guitars. This is an expensive guitar. That's a semi, budget guitar. So we kind of go over everything here. I just wanted to say thank you for coming in and hanging out. Yep, don't forget the thumbs up button. That does help as well. So just saw your stream and my suggestion. It says, I love music, love gear. Well, you're definitely in the right place, because whether your chat, if you're on a phone, was probably down below, as Linnell informed me today, or you're on a computer, it should be on the right. Everyone here really loves gear. And if you're not familiar, right below where you just posted, OJ, is Searching for Tone. He has a great channel. Does a lot of the exact same things. He looks at gear. He does reviews. Different format. Great channel. Go check out his stuff if you're not familiar with him. Great stuff. I see we got Mark SRT, Steve Devastator, and we have Cheryl in the group. It's always nice to have the ladies in the group. And of course, Linnell's in the group. That's my funny honey. I see we have Jupe in the group. We got Kurt Inscale, or it's just Kurt Studio, as he changed his name. Mikey's in the group. Of course, that's who we just went over fixing his guitar. We got Zach Zombie in the group. And if I'm missing anyone, I apologize. I'm scrolling up to make sure. Oh, Ted Talks Guitars and Tone was in here. I don't know if he's still in. And we had Time Surfing Alien in. So that's good. We had Nicholas in. And Nicholas sent me pics, so it's always nice to see Nicholas in the group. That's what I'm saying. The channel's about helping others. Now, Nicholas saw that he thought that I could use a better pick. And he thought this was a better pick for me. And he was right. For me, I can say that this pick works better than what I was using, and I've since ordered a bunch of them. And it's a Torx pick, but I like the pick. So if it wasn't for Nicholas saying, "Hey, why don't you try this?" or sending me something, I wouldn't have known. And that's kind of what the channel's about. All right, so I didn't get any comments on does the amp sound better this week? And I actually, if you go up and look, there is a poll. Since we're going to talk about amplifiers and wiring amplifiers and different things, I did make a poll. It's, do you use a tube amp? And when I mean a tube amp, it has to be a tube preamp and a tube power amp. It doesn't matter if you're running effects, it's just got to be a full tube. Then the next one was solid state. That's a MOS valve amp. It's a MOSFET based. Nothing wrong with that. A Roland stereo chorus would be a solid state amp. That's just the one that popped in my head. The next would be a modeler. A modeler, yeah, it's solid state. It's more digital, but it's emulating something. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's emulating a tube amp, because they emulate Roland stereo choruses too, which was solid state. So you've got the modeler section, and then you've got what I use. I'm not going to call this a pure tube amp, because this is a hybrid system. Not only is it hybrid on the power amp, but it is also hybrid in the preamp. So I have 4 preamplifiers, well actually 6 preamplifiers, 2 of which are solid state, and 4 of which, oh thank you Mikey. So 6 preamplifiers, 4 of which are tube based and 2 of which are solid state based. I'm using an inline tube amp, which also has a MOSFET side, so it's solid state, and my Pro Valve, which is 6L6. So I'm going to consider my amp more of a hybrid. I did not vote, but you can go up and cast your vote in. We'll kind of go over what you guys are using. I think a lot of people nowadays are probably using modelers or some type of hybrid amplifier, whether it's a tube power amp on the backside of their Axe Effects or their Helix, or they have a tube preamp and they're using a MOSFET power amp. So kind of curious what everyone's using now. Not getting any comments, so evidently the tube amp sounded pretty good.
Steve said it sounds great in his opinion.
Cool. Well, that means we made progress, Steve. That's all we can do. I still think, in my opinion, it's lacking a little bit in the mids, so I'm gonna work on that. OG says the Marshall valve state is awesome. You know, Marshall had a good simulated. Basically, they mapped out a valve amp, and then they just redid it as a solid state. So they put MOSFETs in place of the valves and tried to get the voltage plating and, you know, try to get it to work like a valve amp but use MOSFETs. Marshall did a really good job of that, and believe it or not, Peavey made a really good, it was called a trans tube, I believe it was. And the trans tube amps were really a good solid state amp. I know a lot of people poo-poo on the Peavey, but Peavey actually had some pretty good products. Like yourself, most of us have all three. Yeah, I have a full tube right there, my Egnator, and my SWR, that's a solid state. I don't think SWR is in business anymore. I forget who bought SWR. That's my bass amp. Pretty sure that's a solid state rig. And then I have my modeler, my little desktop modeler. So I don't technically, I guess, have a solid state tube, a solid state guitar amp. Now that I think about it, I don't have a Peavey stereo chorus or a Roland Jazz chorus. I don't have anything that I would consider a true solid state guitar amplifier, if that makes sense. Mine would be considered a hybrid system. He's claiming your amp. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. If you can't tell, Linnell should be able to be more heard tonight. We've actually put an SM57. Granted, I know it's an SM57. And she's so soft-spoken. The gain is at like 75% and the slider is at unity. And she's still kind of in the background. So we're going to work on it. She's a little dry. She is running through the Digitech Studio. But there is no de-esser, no enhancer, no expanding gate, and no compression whatsoever. So she's quite dry, so that's going to probably make her sound like she is in another room, but it's not going to be quite the same as what you hear on these two microphones. So if you ask a question, Linnell or Devastator will point it out, and you'll hear Linnell in the background. She's already made a couple comments before, so that was a suggestion that you guys made, so we tried to make that change. Yeah, I heard the frying pan earlier too, Zach. I think she was sharpening the handle for me or something. I'm not quite sure what was going on. She definitely wasn't seasoning it to cook with, but I'm just putting that out there. But yeah, so tomorrow I'm going to be working on Jupe's guitar. I finished up and made sure Devastator's guitar was completely finished today. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing what Mikey's doing. We're going to be firing up the router, and we're going to be routing into Jupe's guitar to make clearance for the extra large sustain block that was installed in it. So at that point, the guitar will be ready for reassembly. So my goal is hopefully next Saturday stream, we should be able to actually hear the guitar for the first time. If not, it will definitely be the following weekend because it's really that close. Oh my gosh, Steve's got bacon in the frying pan. That's awful. I tried a different window this time, guys. In the YouTube, I did the chat pop out, and I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of not digging it. I'm really not liking the chat pop out thing. So I'm gonna switch. Let me go back to YouTube's because it kicked me out of the main page. I don't understand how I could do that and then continue to stream, but it does it quite often. So let me go to manage videos here. And once I get this fixed, we're going to go to Discord and we're going to look at the questions. And there it is. Alright, now we're going to go to Discord. If you're not familiar with the Discord server, we have a questions and topics for live stream. So you can go to Discord and you're going to click on that room, questions and topics for the live stream. And when you do that, you can post a question or a topic that you want the live stream to go over. So this week we only have one question. That's from Jupe as of right now. Can you talk about gloss fretboards versus not glossed fretboards and the reason for glossing a fretboard? I'm guessing to protect the fretboard. But is it more than that? You know, I can't speak for Fender, why they originally started doing that. Anything you do to the surface of the guitar changes the guitar. If you talk to somebody, whether it's the neck or whether it's the guitar, they'll talk about these new urethane finishes and how thick they are, that it prevents the wood from resonating and it kind of dampens the guitar. So Fender has always done it. They've always put a finish on both sides. Does it dampen it? I don't know. They've been doing it for years. Fenders have a sound. That's why people go, I want a Fender Strat, I want a Fender Telly. So for someone to sit around and say, well, I don't like it because it dampens this or it dampens that, I don't know how much truth there is to it. I know a lot of people love the look of a glossed Fender neck that has been played for years. That's the only neck that will give you that look because it is finished. So that finish starts to wear through the neck and it creates all that aged look. If you like that look, I'm sorry, that you're going to have to go with that type neck. I play on them. I'm not a big, everyone knows I like maple, but if I've got to pick a fingerboard, I'm going rosewood or ebony. That's just my preference. I don't think one's better than the other. As far as why Fender does it and these other companies, if someone knows the history behind it, I'm sure there was a thought process that Fender had when they did it. I can't. That's beyond, well, it was long before I was born, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone touring the Fender plant or talking from someone from Fender or these other companies talking while they put the gloss on it. So I would say that there's got to be a reason, but I would not know why that reason would be, other than just for the aesthetic purposes of it. If someone else knows, that's what the chat's for. I'm learning just like you guys. I'm assuming they did it for a reason, but I could be completely wrong. But like I said, if you want that aged look, that's the only way you're going to get it. That's why the Fender guitars look so cool when they get old on the fingerboards, due to that finishing. I'm looking at the chat, guys. Having lots of issues. It's stormy here. Ooh, Devastator's in the middle of a thunderstorm.
No, he was asking Mikey if it was storming there.
Oh, I'm not used to hearing Linnell in my headphones. So it's like, where's that coming from? It's like she's right behind me. That's the only reason I'm leaving the headphones on tonight, guys. Because without the headphones, I can't hear if she says someone has a question. Um, I think we're caught up. So last stream, I did talk about looking at the connections on the back of the amplifier. Um, what is ebony? Ebony is a type of wood. It's a very dense and hard wood. Um, this guitar here has ebony. It almost looks black. And there's a couple different versions of ebony. You can get what's called streaky ebony, and it actually have like it looks like caramel, like the brown caramel. It'll have like caramel streaks through it. It's called streaked ebony. Some people really like it. If you get the right piece, it can look cool, but you don't know unless you can look at the guitar that has what's called streaked ebony. I wouldn't just order a guitar with streaked ebony neck without seeing it first. Like I said, it can look cool, or it can look like, there's a big blonde blotch down here or sideways, and the rest is black. But ebony is a really cool wood. It's used by a lot of manufacturers. I would say most people are doing. I don't know what's up with the puppies tonight. Most people are probably using rosewood or maple. That's the two most popular. About 5 or 6 years ago, Indian Laurel got big. For the life of me, I can't see where that really saved manufacturers that much money switching over to Indian Laurel. It looks kind of funny because we are used to a different kind of wood. I'm pretty sure this one is probably Laurel on this guitar. And you can see it's got a little bit like a red hue to it. So I don't think this guitar is maple. I would have to look at the specs. But for me, ebony's the way to go. Second would be what did I just say? Rosewood. But I mean, they'll use Jatoba too. You'll see Jatoba. I've seen Purple Heart. I've seen a lot of different materials for fingerboards used. Yeah, the dogs keep us safe. If anyone comes near this house, they definitely go ballistic. They're probably hearing Woofy, the dog that normally sits over here. He's in little one's room. So if he walks around on the floor, the dog downstairs is like, oh, he can't be walking. This is my house. So then he starts barking.
There's also a loud truck that keeps starting up and shutting off.
Oh, see, I didn't even hear the truck. Dogs are keeping them safe. Yep. All right, guys. Well, tonight we are doing probably a 2-break night. So we're at 54 minutes and 34 seconds. So if you're not familiar with the channel, we always take a 5-minute break. That allows you to get a drink, get some vittles, go to the restroom, do all that kind of neat stuff, and then we come back. I think we're going to actually go and look at our mic setup. I'm going to move that camera. And yes, it's going to be amateur hour because I do not have video stabilization. But I think a lot of people were curious at the wiring and how the effects loop is done. So we're going to take a look at that, and then we're going to take a quick peek at the rack right here that we've been using on how it's wired up. This one's really messy, but if you're into that older rack gear stuff, this will kind of give you an idea if it's maybe a path that you want to go down. A lot of this equipment you can find reasonable prices. You know, if you want that sound, I'm not saying you can't get it through modelers or some of the other things, but I get my sound because I use that type of equipment. So I don't have to struggle to get it because the equipment was designed to create that sound. So we're going to take a closer look at that, look at the rack, and then go back. We will check Discord again for more questions and answers. So we'll be right back in about 5 minutes, guys. I got to make sure I hit the right button. Okay, guys. Wow. Um, I needed that because we really didn't have dinner tonight. So I went in and I broke some rules. I had a pulled pork sandwich. Mm, I like pulled pork. And when she cooks it, it just like falls apart. You know, it just crumbles right onto the sandwich. So that was super yummy. I'm pretty simple minded when it comes to food. Um, I shouldn't eat pork, but I like pork and pulled pork. I think it was that, what was that, shoulder? Yeah, shoulder. So yummy. Anyway, guys, it also gives me a chance to kind of look back at the chat. Other people have said that YouTube was having some problems, that it was dropping the connection. I can believe that. Last stream, I lost connection. Well, I don't think that was YouTube's fault. We actually lost internet. So hopefully it hangs in there. Okay, how many people want to see the back of the rack? We can get a close-up look of the rack. Now, I don't have a lapel microphone, okay? So anytime we do stuff like this, it makes it hard for me to communicate with you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lean this one microphone out a little bit, and I'm going to turn the gain way up on it, and hopefully that'll offset me being across the room. So these are pretty good microphones, so I'm just going to lean it out. Well, actually, if I lean it out, it really doesn't make any difference. Let me see which one this one is. Wow, they're just as sensitive. So what I'll do is I'll just crank both of them up. How about that? Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug this camera right here. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move this camera over to the face of the unit. And let me change cameras. So this is my rack unit. Let me get it semi-square here. The first piece of gear that we have here, guys, this is a line 6 relay. And I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked for a wireless system that felt natural, that had no delay. It sounded just like me being plugged in to my amplifier. This emulates your cord length, so you can do 5, 10, 15, 20 foot cord, and it is seamless. It's great. This is my Synergy, and this is an SYN2, okay? What you're hearing tonight is my Friedman module. So this is a BE-DLX. And on this side, we have a Sedano SLO. Both of these are dual channels. So I have 2 channels on the Friedman, 2 channels on the Sedano. This is my Applied Research Technology SGX 2000 Express. A lot of people poo-poo on these units. I have played this unit for 30 years. I can't say anything bad about it other than it has what's called the art effect. And I have learned how to program around that particular drawback on this unit. Now here's a secret sauce unit, okay? This one is stamped PV, okay? It's made by AMR, Audio Media Research. And PV bought that company and they did high-end studio equipment. So this was designed originally to be used behind a DAT recorder. DAT recorders sounded really harsh and they sounded artificial. So they were using these inline tube preamps to warm up the signal of a DAT. So we have sugar, spice, and level, and this is stereo. So I have the sugar set to about 4. Spice is right at almost mid, just a little on the hot side, and my level's at 50%. Okay. This is going through the stereo effects loop of the SGX 2000. This right here is a 362 sonic maximizer by BBE. When I started using it, most people used this on vocals. It was not really designed for guitar, and everyone laughed that I had one in my guitar rig. This is your bass contour, and this is more of the high, even though it says low contour and process. As you turn up the processor, processing capability of it, you get more sparkle. This is my BK Butler Concepts made in the USA Pro Valve. Actually, everything in this rack at the time was USA made. I'm not too sure if the Synergy, I think the modules are made in the United States. I'm not too sure if the rack enclosure is made in the USA. But this is has 4 6L6s in it, and it's a TubeWorks RT4250, and it's a 50 watt power amp. What you see above here, okay, if we tilt our camera, we're going to tilt the camera up. This is my backup AMR PV inline tube sweetener, and this is my backup SGX 2000. This is not an Express. This does have the factory ROM chip in it, so the settings and capability are completely different than this one, but it is a backup unit. And this is my P7000. So if we go around, and we're going to look at the back of the rack, and again, I'm sorry for the not so stable connection. It might be dark back here, and my camera doesn't want to go in there. So I'm going to tilt it sideways, and you can see that it is a wiring mess. So right there is the 4 6L6s, and I can feel the heat coming off. I can feel heat all the way back here. It's like a house heater. In the wintertime, I heat my house with my tube amps. This is the back of the, I can't get the camera back to it. There we go. This is the Synergy. This is the Art. This is the AMR and the BBEs back there. And you can see all the cabling. It's quite a bit of cabling. Quite a bit of cabling. So I'm going to spin this back around and get it more set up for the room again. We're going to switch cameras. Hopefully the audio wasn't too low and you guys could hear what I was saying back there. So that is my guitar rig. The only change in the guitar rig in the last, let's say 30 years, is the Synergy rack mount module running the Friedman and the Sedano. The standard ART preamp is quite capable. It has 2 preamps. It has one tube preamp and one solid state preamp, both of which are quite capable. That particular unit has the twin 12AX7 mod done to it, so it is quite, it can get mean sounding. So I can't remember the name of the company that did it. What was it? MP ADA, the MP1. That was really a popular mod on the ADA unit, and at the time, people were taking the ADA and then buying effects units, like a chorus unit. I sold mine. I went down that rabbit hole. I had a quad stereo chorus. It had 4 choruses. In the 80s, if you wanted the sound, you had to have a quad chorus or at least a double chorus. So I had the quad chorus, I had a rack mount reverb module, and I sold a lot of that stuff because the ART did it at a fraction of the cost, and it was easier to transport and do live shows with. So I went from taking up 7 rack spaces down to two rack spaces. It just made it more convenient. But the ADA guys wanted more gain. Okay, so what they ended up doing was modifying the circuit and adding a 12AX7. So after talking to some of the companies that were doing the ADA conversions and reaching out to Applied Research Technology, I found someone that would modify this unit to the 12AX7s, and that's part of the reason why I get the sound that I get. Uh, it is double stacking. Even though I'm running the Friedman, I am still going into the tube preamp of the ART, which is two 12AX7s, and I'm just giving it a little bit of gain right there. I'm not getting that much gain on the AMR inline tube amp, the line amp. That's more for sweetness or spice, you could call it. And I get my punch and the harmonics from the BBE. It's a good rig. Would you build something like that today? Yeah, you could build it today, but like the AMR inline tube amp, the silvery piece, if you find one in good condition that doesn't need to be serviced, that's going to be $500 just for that piece of equipment. You can get an ART SGX 2000 Express with an X15 foot controller. If you get one in mint condition that's not all screwed up, you're probably looking at $500 or $600. The 362 BBE you should be able to find easily for $100 to $150. Now the Pro Valve power amp. Notice that says Pro Valve. It doesn't say Moss valve. The Moss valve, which is the solid state version of the 50 watt amp, you can probably get for $400 or $500. If you find a mint condition Pro Valve running the 4 6L6s, the cheapest one I have seen for sale in the last 3 or 4 years was at $1,000. Most of them usually go for about $1,200. I know what you think, that's a lot of money. It's actually not for a 50 watt stereo 6L6 power amp. It has no 12AX7s or 12AXUs in it. This is how they used to build power amps. There's no preamp tubes in the power amp like the new Synergy or the new VHT or the Ferret. The Mesa Boogie is also using some preamp tubes in the power amp. And I have yet to get a clear answer from any of these companies why they're putting these preamp stage tubes in a power amp stage. I'm sure it's for color, but I can't get a clear reason for it. So the next part in the unit would be the Synergy SYN2. The dock module is going to cost you about $650, and then every module that you put in it is going to cost anywhere from $300 to $400. So then you have to buy a 4-speaker enclosure. Thank God. If you're willing to drive, you can get a 4-speaker nice enclosure pretty cheap because nobody wants to move them anymore. They're becoming obsolete and they're big and they're heavy. But nothing sounds like a 412 cabinet. It moves air. That's what gives it that sound. It's moving air. When you can move air, you're getting a sound. This is loaded with 4 greenback Celestion drivers. It came from the factory with the Celestion drivers. I know PV actually did. This cabinet came with a PV Butcher Pro, and the Butcher Pro came with greenback drivers. Great cabinet. It was bought in I bought it used in '86, so I think this cabinet's probably an '83, somewhere in that ballpark, an '82 or an '83. So that is my guitar amp. So I don't know what you guys think of it. Oh, he missed. He said he stopped away for a second and he missed the whole tour of the rack mount unit. What speakers is it loaded with, Steve? My 4-speaker cabinet's loaded with the greenbacks, the G12s. So I believe they're the 30-watt variation as well. And don't let that wattage throw you for a loop. A 30-watt driver, if you throw clean power to it that doesn't have staging issues from the transformer, you can throw a serious amount of power to that driver. Usually if you're blowing speakers, you've went past its ability to bounce back and forth, either the low, okay? That spider has to be able to move freely, okay? If you move past it, there's a piece of copper, I believe it is, that slides back and forth. If that happens to overgain and go past and pinch, it's done. High frequencies, feedback, stuff like that destroy the drivers. As far as just raw power, as long as it's clean, now granted, it's clean, even a distorted signal, as long as that signal is clean, okay, from the power amp stage itself, it doesn't have a bunch of static and artifacts coming from, this or that, you can drive a 30-watt speaker to 3 times its power. You won't have a problem. The drawback is how the speaker's made. As it moves air, it cools itself. So when you overpower a driver like that, sometimes, and I've seen this happen, the glue that they use to put the cone and stuff together will get so hot that it'll start to melt, and the wax that they use inside the ferrite magnet for that piece to move back and forth will get on that piece of metal. It will work as long as it stays hot.
Are they proper reddish greenbacks?
Yeah, they're real greenbacks from like the 80s. If that gets inside that piece that slips back and forth, you might have a problem the next time you fire up the amp, because when it cools off, it's going to turn back to a solid and it's going to freeze the driver, and the driver won't be able to flex and move. Yeah, we're definitely having an issue with YouTube tonight, guys. It just, again, kicked me from my chat window and the information as far as the stream. There it is. Chat's back. So yeah, those are real greenback drivers. I hear people talk about the new stuff that isn't as good. Some people said the 1V30s wasn't any good. I don't know. This cabinet over here, the little black cabinet, it has 2 Celestion greenback V30s in it. And my cabinet to my left here has 4 Celestion Penta drivers. And if you're not familiar with the Penta driver, type in Celestion PV Penta and you will find what I think is just a phenomenal speaker. I love the Penta. It's an open back 4-speaker cabinet. Great cabinet, great sounds. I love mine. And you can find these cabinets really, really reasonable, usually under $300. That's very reasonable. Price one Celestion speaker. If you can buy a cabinet with 4 in good shape, you're stealing it at anything under $300. You really are. And the Penta cabinet's a nice cabinet. So that's my guitar rig, guys. So I guess what we should do, if you missed the first part of the stream, let's get a sound on it. And we're doing a mix tonight, and this is only our second attempt at doing the. Actually, we're going to play Devastator's a guitar again. So last week we tried to do this with just microphones, the 2 SE microphones, and we had some technical problems. It has a lot of power. It's just got that sound. This guitar has a lot of sustain now. It's a night and day difference on this guitar. So if you missed the first part of the stream, I was saying I think it's missing a little mid. You can hear I've got the delay better this week. I think it's much better this week. I went from 40% wet dry mix to 30% wet dry mix on the delay. Yes, 100%. That is an '80s tone out of a Friedman. If you give someone a piece of equipment, I don't care if you give them a Marshall, give them a Mesa Boogie, give them a Yamaha, THR amp. Everyone's ear hears guitar the way they want to hear it. For me, that's my sound. So even if I plug into my little Yamaha or something, I'm going to EQ it. I'm going to I'm going to gravitate towards that more 80s tone. That's the sound that I like. It's just you got to have chorus. There's chorus in this. There's chorus, reverb, delay, compression, aerial exciter, BBE. There's a lot of stuff in this signal path, and you can tell when we looked at the back, there's cables running all over the place in there. But that's how they get the 80s sound. It's the sound of that time. So that's the tube amp. And if you missed it, there you go. That's what it sounds like. It's nice to be able to play the tube amp during the live stream. This amp here, I have to turn it back on. I have noticed since I've connected, and this channel is 100% on honesty, I don't know if it's my computer, the USB connection, but let me see if I can see if that window's open. Right now I have Discord open. So right now, so let me go back to this one. We're going to go to display screen. This is the software that comes with my little THR10. And the only issue that I've tend to be having with this amplifier, now that I have it hooked to the computer, I'll look over and it's turned itself off. So I don't know if there's a time limit, something that makes it cut off. It never used to cut off before, but now that I have it hooked to my computer, I'll look over and it has shut itself down. So I'm not really overly sure what's going on there. So we're going to pick up our shutter here. And I'm going to have to go a little closer on the app here. All right. So this is the modeled amp. There's a difference. I'm not saying I dislike this. But when you hear them, when you listen to them back to back, you can hear the difference between the tube amp. Even though I know I still need to do more work with the tube amp just is a fuller sound. Even though I'm saying that it seems like the mids are a little too scooped, the Yamaha is 100%. Sorry guys, like I said, my finger's killing me, so I'm misfretting quite a bit. It comes down to, if I'm at home, what I was saying, I plug into my tube amp. It's a great sounding amplifier. But if I'm going to go somewhere and do an open mic, or just go and play out somewhere and play 10 or 12 songs, I'm going to take my guitar and I'm going to take a small modeler. It is close enough. It really is. It's close enough. 90% or probably 95% of the people there, they're not going to be able to tell the difference. They really aren't. And if someone comes up to you and goes, "Oh man, I can't listen to you. You're playing through some miler, bull crap," so be it. At the end of the night, when I have to pick that thing up, that thing weighs like a stupid amount. I used to be able to pick that thing up and carry it, 50, 60 foot in the door over to the stage. Now I struggle getting it across the room. So it is heavy. My back will appreciate picking up this little 6-pound amplifier. I can go front of house with it. So if we plug in something a little different, let's plug this guy in. Get a little bit different flavor. Completely different tuning. It's hard for me to do tonight. I can't do that one because of my fingers. So that's how I'm kind of approaching this, guys. For the live stream, I set this one up to where there's very little volume. I think I found a good spot for that to work. I could still talk to you guys through these microphones. It's not so loud in the room where it's kind of killing me and I'm trying to talk over it. So I think this might be something that if I continue to tweak with, that we'll do it again some more, if that makes sense. As far as the ease of being able to do things, this little guy right here is still far easier. I just literally come out of the headphones jack right into the Mackie to the interface. It's really that simple. There's no magic fairy dust, no voodoo powder. What you just heard is that amp into the Mackie to the interface. So I think it's simpler. It's much easier than hooking up a bunch of microphones, than coming out of the back of the unit to the DI box. Because what you're actually hearing is actually 4 signals. You're hearing the left-right channel of the microphone because it's a stereo amplifier. And then you're hearing the right and left simulated ab cabinet feed from the DI box. So when I was playing the tube amp, you're actually hearing a stacked signal, if that makes sense. I am doing no post-processing. So actually, that's a good little trick. Since we're going to go completely up front and honest, let's what's that, hon?
What interface are you using?
What Ampeg?
Interface.
Oh, we're using the Yamaha AG08. Yamaha AG08. All right. I don't know. YouTube compresses the signal, okay? So this is non-post processed. So everything that you hear are the 4 direct lines from the amplifier. All right, I'm going to add some post-processing. What that means, I'm going to take an auxiliary send on an input that this is coming into. I'm going to take that auxiliary send on that channel and I'm going to send it to a Digitech Studio 200. And that's going to enhance it just a little bit. And this is called post-processing. So here's it without post-processing. Okay, now we're going to add some post-processing. Just a little bit of post-processing. In the post-processor, we have an equalizer, emulated floor plate, and a little bit of delay. I don't know if you can audibly hear the difference. If you do too much, like I haven't set that up. So since it's using a delay, if the milliseconds aren't the same as the delay in the pre-processing, sometimes you can end up with some mud really quick. So if we just cut that back a little bit, we're at 50% on the aux send, and we're at 33% on the return channel to the submix. That sounds like it's pretty good right there. And if we want to do a different tuning, let me plug it into the shifter here. So here's our shifter in standard tune. So that's with post-processing. There's a lot, guys, and I bring post-processing up for a reason. I don't do much post-processing, okay? That aux send to the Digitech is more there for these upper microphones, just to kind of add a little bit of substance so the mics aren't so dry. So normally I don't have that much in it, but I can push it and feed any input through that or a noise gate or one of my Project Ones, or I got an Alesis Quadraverb that's in there. So there's a bunch of different things that I could technically do. But you can fatten the signal, especially if you only have one input, because you can come out of that input with an aux send to a secondary device, and when you return that into the next channel, you put one on a subgroup 1, one on subgroup 2, and you can blend a mix. Now you could take this even further. Since I have 4 inputs, you could do your microphones and have that go out on a sub or an aux send to a different compressor, and the little pedal down here, the cab simulator, you could put that on aux 2 to a different processing, and you could blend to match the DI versus the mic, and then also blend to match how much post-processing that you're putting in it. Every time you start stacking stuff, though, you can end up with mud pretty quick. That's why originally I didn't do it. I didn't have that much experience with the new setup, so I didn't want to overdo it. And I still need to tweak it, but I did want to kind of go over that change, if that makes sense. I don't know if you guys set your guitar rigs up that way, but a good trick is to do that. There's no rule saying you have to plug your guitar into an amplifier and come out of the effects loop to pedals, and then it comes out right to your speakers and out. You can do other things. You can come out of your effects loop send. You can come out of that to another amplifier, or return, split your effects loop, your 4 pedals, and then go out stereo to 2 different amplifiers. You know, you can return one to return send and the other one directly to a different amplifier. There's so many things that you could do to start stacking that signal to get some body to the sound, make it fuller. When you do that, if I look at my EQ settings for the left channel and the right channel are completely different. I don't remember if it's the left or the right. One channel favors more the low end, and the other channel favors more the high end, if that makes sense. So that makes the processing on those two, I can change the processing curve on the channel doing the low end, and it's not going to affect what the sparkle on my high end side's doing. You don't have to worry about it. It's going to get mixed back together once it's transformed into the room, and it gives it body. When you record it, you got your left and right side. It's not the same sound. It's a little beefier over here and a little thinner on this side, but when they're played together, it just adds body and fullness to it. I've always played like that. A lot of people, I've been hearing like in the last 10 years, people really started playing more with stereo rigs. I've been playing a stereo rig for 35 years. It has always sounded better. Even if you were playing in a dive that had concrete walls and wood floors, it was stereo. So you were able to get better imaging, even though it was bouncing off the walls and doing all kinds of weird things. The better you can get that sound to whoever's running sound, or if you don't have a soundboard, the better you can get that initial sound, the better off you're going to be. I've always ran stereo. I like stereo. Not sure if this Yamaha is technically stereo. It's probably, I don't have to look at how the effects chain works and how it loops pedals. I know it comes out stereo, so it's probably a stereo on the effects part, but I don't know how the amplifier itself sees it. I'd have to look into that. But I like the Yamaha too. Like I said, it's about simplicity. So hopefully you guys liked our little amplifier tour. Oh, what are we at? Oh, you know what, guys? It's time for number 2. And I don't mean the restroom break. It's time for break number 2. Sorry, I keep hitting the wrong button. If you're not familiar with the channel, we always take a break, but here lately I've been taking 2 breaks because when I talk this much, it's hard on my throat. So I need to get either a cup of coffee or some tea or some lemon water, something to kind of coat my throat. I usually get a snack. It gives you time to run to the restroom and maybe come up with some questions. When we come back, I really have nothing left to kind of go over because we went over Jupe's guitar, we went over the amplifier in pretty good detail and how I'm processing it so you guys can hear it. It will get better. So when we come back, it'll be open forum for you guys just to come in and come up with a new topic.
You went
And
over Devastator's guitar, not Jude.
oh, I went over. I'm not used to it. I'm like, I had a squirrel moment for a second. I'm gonna look back and say, "Whoa!" I heard this voice in my head. I'm like, who is that? I'm not used to her having a microphone, especially when it's like right there. Yeah, we went over Devastator's guitar, not Jupe's. We went over Jupe's guitar on the Discord. That's why you need to be a member of Discord because a lot of things can happen there each night. Whether we're playing guitar or talking about fixing an instrument, there's always somebody talking about something. So if you don't know, we're giving away a Fender player. This is my first plug. And either to the bottom if you're on a cell phone or to the right if you're on a computer, the people you see there donated money through super chats and the channel has bought a Fender player. We're giving it away 100% for free. So we're going to do a review on the guitar and any issues that I find we're going to fix and give it away. It's really simple. You got to be publicly subscribed and you got to go to Discord and go into the Opera room, say, yes, I want to be entered on the guitar giveaway, and that's it. And if you also haven't noticed, you don't have to be a subscriber to post and join in the chat. We want you to come in. Feel free to bring up topics. New people, bring in topics. That's what it's about. You'd be surprised how many people have opinions and past experiences with stuff that can really help you if you're on the fence on something. It's not just my opinion. It's everyone to the right or to the bottom can really help out with a lot of situations. I know these guys have helped me out a lot of different times on technical problems that I've had and come up with some unique solutions. So that's what we're here to do. Anyway, we're going to take a break. Hopefully when I come back, I'll see the subscriber count go up and we'll still have some people watching. All right, guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break again. We'll be back shortly. now's the time that I wish I had. If you watch searching for Tone Stream, the comments come up down here across the bottom of the screen. It's kind of a cool little app. He told me what it was, and I'm not familiar with it. I wouldn't know how to get it set up, but I think we're just going to go through, and I'm going to read comments here. So I'm going to start at the very top one that I still see on my screen. It says, this is from Mikey. I need a working guitar. And then Mikey's got his little smiley face going there. Then the next Devastator, Amazon has some cheap ones. Actually, Mikey, I don't know how good they are now, okay? But the Grote Stratocaster that I reviewed was actually a pretty good guitar. At the time it was $139. You can get it on Amazon right now for like $90. They have made some changes to the guitar, so I'm not too sure. The one I reviewed, the tuners, everything on the guitar was great. I wasn't a big fan of the pickups, but it had solid bridge, solid tuners. The neck and fretwork was decent. The body work was decent. It's a great guitar for $140. They've shaved $40 off the price. They've done it somewhere. So I have not reordered the new version to see what they did. I also hear good things about IYV. We are getting ready to order an IYV guitar and just see what the hype's about. We're ordering a string through one. That one's like $164. Again, I'm picking one that I've heard good things about. And everyone that I talk to has good things to say about it. But we're going to order one and see. And then Warheart's Art said, trying to fix my old Fubar guitar. Yeah, I got a couple of those Fubar guitars. Devastator said, having any luck? And then Warheart says, Goodwill is a good place to source an inexpensive guitar as well. I've heard some really stupid deals coming out of Goodwill. And they walk in, it's like a $500 guitar for like $100. So if you got a Goodwill near you, I'm pretty sure Mikey lives out in the middle of nowhere.
They also have a Goodwill like auction site or website.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jerry, one of our moderators, I was looking for a Peavey, and he got me on the Goodwill auction site, and they auction stuff off. I'm not sure if that stuff, I'm sure it gets sent to you. So you might want to look into that. It's Goodwill auction, and you get to bid on it online. So that's a good one, Linnell. I didn't have my headphones on. I actually heard her from the other room that time. I didn't have a squirrel moment because I didn't have my headphones on. Not at all. I bought one to mod and it turned out pretty good. We're talking about a Glary guitar there. No, Glary's not the worst, in my own opinion. First Act, Behringer, Lynx, or Bottom Barrel. Lynx. Yeah, I've seen them on Amazon. I've heard horror stories about those. Worst guitar is no guitar. I agree with that 100%. That was from Warheart. Steve says the Harmony I had back in the 90s was the worst. Probably just needed a setup. A lot of those guitars were just sent right out of the factory. Yeah, 100% needed a setup. Yeah. I had a Sears acoustic, and it was so bad, it would make your fingers bleed. Knowing what I know now, all I had to do was pull the bridge piece out, sand it down, because it wasn't the action at the nut, it was the action at the bridge. I don't remember the neck being super crazy, bent and warped up on it. Maybe it was, but could have easily taken that out and filed it down a little bit, got the action to a playable point. But I was young and didn't know, and my parents didn't know either, and that was the first guitar they bought me. So it was pretty rough to play. And Mark says, welcome back. So I don't know who he's talking about.
That was when you came back on from break.
Yeah. And I see Searching for Tone is still in here. I'm surprised. Web-based platform. It's a subscription you can get. Oh, he's talking about what I was just saying. All right, I'm gonna write that down because I actually do like that. That's pretty cool. So I've got the YouTube chat on the one side of my screen, but it's very small. I like how yours does. That's pretty cool. Um, Mikey said I was looking at the RGA 42. I'm assuming it's this one. This is, yep, RGA 42 FM. This is a great guitar, Mikey. We did not pay full price for this. I think I've disclosed we paid $250 for this guitar. Someone bought it, and for whatever reason, they didn't like it. And Linnell brought it over to me. It was at Shandor Music, and I thought it was a brand new guitar. I couldn't, I mean, there wasn't a spot on it. And took it up to the counter, and the guy goes, "Oh, you're going to get the used Ibanez." And I'm like, "It's used?" So it was $250. This is a great playing guitar. You guys know how I feel about this guitar. I play this guitar a lot. This channel's number one 300, we'll say from $300 to $500 guitar. This is the one to buy, in my opinion. Great pickups, solid bridge, good tuners, nice thin shred neck on it. Neck feels good, fretwork is good. It's a great guitar. It's got a little white binding on it. You know, for that kind of money, especially what we paid for it, I mean, come on. This guitar is worth its asking price. It really is. Because if you take a budget guitar and you have to put tuners on it and you change pickups, you've already exceeded the price point of this guitar. This guitar needs nothing. Plug it in, play it, have fun. You know, play it like you stole it. So I agree. This model and the S model, they make an S model at the $450 to $470 price mark. Linnell has one of those as well. Another great Ibanez product. Exact same pickups too. What pickups are these? Quantum. Yeah, she's got the Quantum pickups. I love the Quantum pickups. I like these pickups more than the pickups that come on my PWM 20. And they were Mojo Tone pickups. And I prefer the sound of these pickups. I'm still on the fence. My $1,600 Schecter versus the pickups in this one. I don't know. And what's sad is I have to stop and think about it. That's what's sad. If you look at the price points. Yeah, I'm not going to say one thing or another, guys. Price point is relevant to the person that's buying it and the amount of funds that they have. So that's why we look at a bunch of different types of guitars. I am just saying the weak point in my Schecter, in my opinion, is the bridge pickup. Is it bad? It's not bad. It really isn't. But I guess I'm expecting it to be a little more, awesome than my Honey's $250 Ibanez, which is a $470 guitar. I still like the sound of these pickups. That's just me. Pickups are something, just because I like something doesn't mean that you're going to like something. Trying to think of another decent price point guitar. It's hard to get a guitar in the $300, $350, $400 price point that has a floating bridge. I don't recommend doing it because if you do it, even if you by some miracle get one that does hold tune, odds are it's not going to hold tune for long because the base plate and the posts and the parts are made out of softer metal, so the knife edges wear quickly, and then you end up putting a bridge on it. When they start adding money there, that means you have to take money away from the tuners, the design of the guitar. We were just going over the repair on Devastator's guitar here, the stuff that had to be done to get that guitar to what I consider being a good quality instrument. That's tough. I'll go over it one more time. I think this guitar was $200 plus like $30 shipping. So we had to completely redo the bridge. So this is now probably at about $160 in the bridge. We had to put tuners on it. Okay, $34 because I got them on sale. Had to put the locking nut on it. This particular locking nut was like 25. Had to put a string tree on it. That was 10. And so far we're up to 3 sets of strings. The first attempt on this, we tried to use the stock saddles. It was the only part that I could reuse, and the strings were slipping out of the nut. So we decided to put better saddles on the guitar. So when you figure the cost of the guitar and all the parts, and it's still running the stock pickups and stock potentiometers, you're in the $400, $450 price point. Okay, and it's a lot of work. You know, it's not like I bought this guitar and I could just kind of plug it in. Does that make sense? I couldn't just plug it in. I had to do the work to make the guitar right. So, is it worth it? If you like tinkering on guitars, I'd say yeah, it's worth it. The end result is good. But the drawback to doing something like this is it's still a Firefly. So, if you go to resell it, you know, in our case, we don't have the original bridge. I threw the saddles and stuff away. So if I was going to go resell this guitar, I would have put the old tuners back on it, the old saddles on it, and just sold it for, you know, $99 and got rid of it. I would keep my modified bridge, keep my decent parts, and buy another project guitar and transfer the parts. Because if you list this guitar, you're not going to get $450 for this guitar. You're just not on the used market. You might find somebody that's an actual guitar player that picks it up and goes, I don't care what it says on the headstock, you've done good work on this guitar and it's worth it. That's the client that you want. But in the real world, we don't really see that. We see people go, oh, you know, it's a Firefly, it's only worth this. Anyone, whether it's a Jackson or you got a PRS, you start putting hot rodded parts in it. On the resale, it's based on its original manufactured price, what it sold for. And you got to take 40-50% off to sell it. That's usually how it works in the used market. As sad as it seems. So that's why I'm like, okay, if you're looking for a decent guitar, there are tons of them out there that you can get. Especially if you get a fixed bass bridge, you know, that's going to lower the initial cost of the guitar on the manufacturer's end, and hopefully they put that extra savings in the tuning keys, maybe a Graphtec nut, maybe something a little more detail on the fret dressing. That's what you're hoping for. It doesn't necessarily mean that the manufacturer's going to do that. Maybe the fretwork and the tuners are exactly the same as the other one. They just have a larger price mark on that particular instrument. So I see the chat's moving pretty good here. Wait, you can resell guitar? Yes, I've actually had pretty decent luck reselling instruments. And the only reason for that is I think at this point I've proven from people on YouTube picking up my guitars that I have modified, everyone has been happy. Okay, good fretwork, good setup. If they send me a broken guitar when they get it back, it is far better. If they send me a guitar with just pickups, I always do more than just the pickups. So I've kind of almost got a little bit of a reputation. They know if I do resell a Firefly, I don't resell it stock. I always go through and make darn sure the guitar is good. Nothing leaves here that I feel is not up to going out and playing live. That doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but the guitar has to be good enough to where you can plug it in and I feel comfortable you could go out and play this guitar live. It's not going to cause an issue. It's going to hold up and play. It plays good. I try to do that as well as I can on that budget, if that makes sense. So that has really helped me. That doesn't mean every guitar here sells. I've had guitars for sale for quite some time and they just don't move. I don't know why. I've got a guitar here that I have over $600 in. It's a playing monster. It just will not sell. I had the opportunity to trade it for an N4 and I didn't do the trade. And maybe I should have done the N4 because I could have probably took the N4 and sold the N4 for $600. I'm not sure, but I didn't do the trade. So you're never going to get what you got in it back out, if that makes sense, unless you get a really good name for yourself, if that makes sense. And it only takes one or two bad apples. If you rush here or you rush there, or you're not truthful to somebody, that reputation can be tarnished really quick. That's why I'm super careful when a guitar leaves here. I try to do my best to make sure I've done everything I can do to that guitar. That doesn't mean it's not going to break in a month. You know, maybe a brand new tuner's break. You know, brand new potentiometers can fail. Things can happen. What you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize those failures. Like if I always know this particular output jack causes a problem, I just replace them. I don't worry about it. I just put a pure tone jack in. Firefly, I haven't had a problem with Firefly jacks. Knock on wood. Some of the other brands, now I've got them all stirred up. He sounds like he's like right here in the room, but he's actually downstairs. I'm not sure why that is. Very loud tonight for one reason. So if I know a product causes an issue, I'll just go ahead and resolve it, if that makes sense. That's what I try to do. Hold on for a second. Is there something going on downstairs, hon?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Is the back door shut?
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know. He's extra noisy tonight. Okay, back to the chat. Let me see. You guys are still talking about bacon. I can't understand it. Let's see. Best part of Texas is the bacon wrapped. Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Walmart says, how should I wire my 5-wire pickup to my passive pots?
What's that?
How should I wire my
Yeah,
5-wire?
you're dead. The Mackie has died. Let me see.
It's Warmark's.
Hold on, guys. We've been having technical problems with the Mackie for a couple weeks. All right, talk again, hon.
Can you hear me?
No. The channel died again. I went through 5 or 6 different channels at the beginning of the stream. We're having channels drop left and right on the board. I think it's just about time to say goodbye to the Mackie that's been here for 30 plus years. It's been a good board, but when I'm constantly losing signals and the preamps are causing issues, it's time to move on. So I hate to say it. If you do have a Mackie, I'm sure it served you well. Lord knows mine has. But it has, over the last month, continuously lost channels. So we've lost Linnell's mic. It might come back. Who knows? It may not. Yep, the Mackie, the sound of death. That's what it's doing. It's gradually dying. Right now we're using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We're using 11 channels on the Mackie. And I know for a fact 4 of the channels are dead.
Well, Walmart said, how should I wire my 5-wire pickup to my passive pots?
Okay, if you're not doing a coil split, you probably have two wires that are bonded together. Okay, so basically one wire is the send, it goes into the first coil. Okay, and then that comes back out. Then your other wire goes into the second coil, then comes back out. So the out wire needs to go to the input wire of the second coil. That leaves you two wires, and then you have a ground. That's how I'm assuming it's set up. Try to find a spec because everyone's wiring is different. Sometimes you'll have green and white, sometimes it'll be red and white, and you bond those together. So I don't want to tell you which way because every manufacturer can be a little different. The easiest way is to test it, wire it up, and they make a little tool that'll say north south when you put it over the pickup. Okay, when you turn the pickup on, you can make sure that you're north and south, that you're not got the pickup in backwards. Because if you have another pickup and this pickup is north this way, okay, you need to make sure that they're opposed, especially if you start splitting coil. If you drop this coil and it's south this way, then the other one needs to be south the other direction, or you'll get some strange phasing issues. But as far as the wire itself, one goes to ground, and then the other two just literally go to the top of your pot. One will go to the side part of your pot, but it depends on how you wire it, if you have coil split or not. I'm trying to think. Seymour Duncan has a bunch of different wiring diagrams if you're going to do a split coil or series wiring. You can also do series wiring, where you take the in source of both and it just terminates as the send and then your returns. So instead of going through the coil and then back to the next coil, it's two independent signals through the coil and then back out. So, run them in parallel. I guess that'd be parallel. So series would be going through the first coil, then the second coil, then out, and then split. So series, parallel. It depends on how you wire it.
And Jeff says, what's the Egnator amp?
The Egnator is a Renegade. And that's one of the good years. I was told by someone that I know works on amps and is very good. Egnator had some problems with their transformers blowing. They went to a cheaper transformer to try to save some money, and that really destroyed Egnator's reputation. So if you are buying an Egnator, make sure you look into the year that you're buying and make sure it's not one of those years that they tried to save $1 here or there on the transformer. I don't remember what year this one is, but it did fall in the years that I was told, great amp, you'll never have a problem with it. I like it. It has the clean, sparkly sound and volume of a Fender amp, which everyone knows they're just lots of power, very clean. But yet you can still get that Marshall overdrive sound out of it. It is a 2-channel amp, single 12. And they actually make a little cabinet, another single 12 cabinet, that has the tan and black Torlex that matches, and that you set it on top, and it looks really sharp on top of that cabinet. I've been beating around getting the little 112 cabinet and setting it on and have a 212. That's what it would actually be. It'd be a 212 open back. Both cabinets are open back. But it sounds good just with a single 12. I know it would sound much fuller, more roomier. I just haven't bought one yet. I see them on Reverb, the matching cabinet, single 12 cabinet for $300, $250, $300. And I'm looking for mint condition because that amp's mint. There's not a mark on it. So I don't want to get a secondary cabinet that's got a nick or a tear in the torte. I want it to be nice to match my amplifier. That little spot you see in the center of the amp, I don't know what that is. Depending on how you move the camera, it kind of moves back and forth. It's something on how that fabric is wove, and it creates a funny, it moves around the amp. It's not dented or folded. It's just something weird. You'll see right going this way, right where the end of my finger is, that you don't see either in person. It's something to do with the lights and the camera kind of make it look that way. But it's a great amplifier. If you're not familiar with Egnator, look into them. Type it in YouTube. There was quite a few artists that used the Egnator for that reason. It had good sparkling cleans and nice overdrive sounds. So it is my go-to amp. I thought about getting a Fender Twin reverb, like about a 70, 71, 72. This Egnator, with its tank reverb that it has a real tank reverb. And it has 6L6 and EL84 power amp stage. And you can blend between the two power amp stages. So you can do all 6L6 or some EL34, or you can blend the two together. That gives it a lot of different sounds that you can get out of it. Presence control, dynamic control. It's a great amp. There's right where my finger is, right there. There are 6 smaller knobs, and that's what I call the enhancement things. That's where your reverb, dynamics, and all that set. And just changing that stuff really changes the way the amp sounds. It's a nice amp.
Niles has to go.
Okay, Niles. You working tonight? Oh, I don't. Please tell me you're not working tonight.
Yeah.
That would be. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. This is my first weekend in 3 weekends. I'm off Saturday and Sunday, so I do plan on sleeping in tomorrow. I'm not getting up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm sleeping in. KT88 tubes. You know, I know people that really love the KT88s. I'm not going to say they're bad. Again, this is all personal preference. I'm a 6L6 guy. There's something about 6L6s. And you'll hear people say, well, 6L6 isn't the best tube for distortion. I've used 6L6s and I love the distortion that the power amp stage gives me. Are EL34s better? I don't know. I like it when you mix the EL34 and the 6L6. I do. I kind of like the mixture. But my big amp here, that's 6L6 power amp tubes. Your power amp will always color the flavor of your amp. People go, oh, it's all in your preamp, it's all in your preamp. Well, a lot of it is, but your power amp stage also colors the signal. So KT88s, if I got a pick, it was never my favorite. But that's just me. That doesn't mean that that you might hear one and just you think that KT88s are it, and you won't play anything else. That's a lot of it too is your EQ curve. If you're used to a certain EQ curve or a certain dynamic, and you immediately just switch your power amp and you go to KT88s, your sound's going to change. You've gotten used to doing X to get what you hear. Remember what I was saying? Someone said something about great 80s tone. I just hear that, and whether I use my Yamaha or the Egnator or that, I kind of get that sound because I'm going to EQ it and I'm going to tweak it and I'm going to get that sound. That's my point. If you pull your power amp and then you put a KT88 power amp in, you're going to go, and you're going to, over a period of a month or 2 months, you're going to dial that thing in and you're going to get close to the sound that you had. And it kind of defeats the purpose because the whole point in us buying a Friedman module, a Sedano module, an Art module, an Egnator, an SWR, or this little Yamaha, the point of it is to have different sounds. So a lot of times I tell people, just put everything at 50%, dead center, and play it. And try to tweak your sound off of that, okay? Don't immediately cut your mids and boost your high. Let the amp be the amp. Play it for a little while, especially not the first night. Play it for a little while and do slight changes. Try not to do what I do. And we all do it. We're bad for it because we hear something and we want it to sound like what we're used to hearing. but yet we heard someone else's amp and, well, I like that sound. But immediately we go right in and we start tweaking it to get our sound. Well, that's not the sound we liked, that we heard over here with this guy. Does that kind of make sense? And I am 100% at fault at doing that. That's why if you look at the Egnator, it's almost all 50% other than gain stage, presence, and stuff like that, and dynamics and reverb. I try to let the amp, because I use that amp for my cleans, you know. I love it. Just a little bit of dirt. For me, that amp shines for cleans and like a dirt clean sound. I'm not saying it isn't good at high gain, but I've got that for my high gain. Well, I don't need a high gain amp. I've got a high gain amp. I need something like that I can get a really nice, sparkly, loud clean and just a little bit of crunch behind it. You know, maybe some mid crunch. And that Egnator gives that to me. So I try to keep them separated, you know, just for that reason. If I plug my little Fender Squier, Nashville Telly into that, or Nashville Strat into that thing, it's like the angels start singing. It's a great combination. If I take my Epiphone hollow body and I plug into it, again, it's great. I got a Firefly with P90s in it. I plug that into it, again, it's got a sound. So try not to do what I do. Try to let the amp have its own, you know, you bought a Fender or a Vox or a Friedman or a Sodano or a Laney, whatever it is, let it be what it is. You know, there's a reason why some people liked them and some people didn't. Let the amp be what it is. It's either going to be a tone that you like or you don't like. And we got on this topic due to KT88s. Just keep in mind, I go for 6L6s. That doesn't mean that if you put KT88 power amp in there, that I couldn't get my sound out of it. I could get it pretty close. So don't let it bug you too much. Will you have a preference? Sure. My preference is 6L6s because I've played them for 35 years. And that's what these little squirrel ears are used to hearing. So that's just me. Enemy of the State, 1998. I need better glasses. Beyond the Mars roof. Oh, Pentagor's doing roof work. That's not guitar related, Pentagor. Man. Oh yeah. You're gonna have some bacon before you get up there and work on that roof. Oh, such an inside joke. Some people yoga, some people blend, some people know the movie. Yeah. Okay, do we have any open comments that we need to go over real quick, hon?
I don't think so.
It's a shame we lost Linnell's mic because my mic is so old and dead. Devastator's got this little smiley face going on. So hopefully, if you guys want No Chance Avery, that's too funny.
Juke said he plays his guitar on the roof. Talking about Pentagor.
Oh my gosh. I thought that was a fiddle. He can't take a guitar up on the roof. He's got to have a fiddle. I'm just saying. It's a fiddler on the roof. I mean, you can't. Unless he's playing that song through his guitar in a Marshall half stack. Then he's got my blessings. You don't think he wants bacon? All right, well, I don't think I'm going to do bacon. I'm going to do pulled pork. We're getting ready to do pulled pork sandwiches after the stream. All right, guys, I hate to say it, but I want everyone to go to the Discord for next stream and post some questions or pictures. I really kind of like the Discord thing. For one reason, I can go there, kind of look at pictures, like Mikey put some pictures of his guitar up, so we could kind of go over that. If you put it in there, Devastator's going to clean the room, so we always kind of like scrub the floors and stuff, wipe down the walls, make sure we don't get any comments that's already been gone over again. So go there, post some pics and some questions or topics that you want us to go over. And if you do it early enough, that kind of gives me enough time, like tonight, to get the amp pushed out away from the wall enough to where I could get my camera in there and you guys could actually see the back of the amp and the wiring. There was a lot of thought behind tonight's stream, getting everything set up to where I could do what I said we were going to do. We're going to look at the back and front of the amp, go over the components, look at how it's wired together, go over how I have it wired to the board, to the interface, and we did all that. So hopefully everyone, got an inside look. Instead of being 15 foot away from it, you got a nice close-up view, and I got described exactly what it is, what it does, and about what it would cost if you decided to build a rack system like that today. But if you go there and you post that, that gives me time to do whatever I need to do so we can engage and we can kind of go over that topic, before the stream. And if I don't know, then I can, kind of do some research. And then at that point, we can talk about it in the chat and find out, is it true, not true, or get other people's opinions. So I don't know it all, guys. I learn just as much from you guys, and that's why I enjoy coming on, Thursdays and Saturdays and hanging out with you guys. I honestly think that it benefits me more than anyone else. I learn more from you guys because there's always 20 or 30 people in here talking guitars, and I hear things and I'm like, wow, I should try that, or I didn't know that. So it's educational for me. Hopefully it's educational for you guys as well. But if you haven't already, please go down and hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, make sure it's switched to all. And we're giving away a free guitar. All you have to be is publicly subscribed, and you got to go to YouTube and say, yes, let me in on the free guitar. It's opt-in room on Discord. So as long as you do those two things, you're entered to win. And a special thanks to Shandor Music for selling us the guitar at cost. That way we could give a really nice guitar away at a price this channel could afford. So shout out to those guys. And we're going to do our 5-minute closing chat, and I'll see everyone on Thursday night for Thursday night stream. And we are doing a guitar review on Thursday night. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag which one we're reviewing, but we are reviewing a guitar on Thursday night. Again, I can't do the stream without you guys. I want to thank everyone that gave a super chat. All that money goes to support the channel and buy products for giveaways. You guys know that. I can't thank you guys enough for the support that you give me and the channel. And remember, it's not just me. It's Devastator, Linnell, and myself. We're the three people that are behind the scenes taking care of, well, everything. So thanks, guys. And we're going to do our 5-minute ending window, and that allows you guys to talk and end your conversations. Thanks again so much.